2 hours. More like 10 minutes. Let's go. First of all, let's talk about the best new Ultra Beast cards. Previously, the Ultra Beast tag that you saw in the top right corner never really meant anything, but now it really does because we gain this awesome new Beast ring that you can see on the far left. If your opponent had exactly 3 or 4 prize cards remaining, you get to search your deck for 2 basic energy and attach them to one of your Ultra Beasts. Amazing, amazing acceleration, most notably for Buzzwole, but also Duskmane Necrozma for Turbo Metal decks. There's a new Prism Star card, Beast Energy. It provides colorless, but if it's to an Ultra Beast, it can be any type of energy at once and does an additional 30 more damage, so it's similar to a Strong Energy, but really OP. Only 1 copy, though. Then we have the Ultra Recon Squad supporter. Not good enough. I don't think it'll see play, but it's something worth noting. Ultra Space, a really good stadium card. Lets you search your deck for an Ultra Beast and put it into your hand. Great synergy for finding your Ultra Beast, most notably the new Naganadel. You can also grab Poipole. That has the tag, which is notable. And this Naganadel is a very nice, efficient attacker. 210 HP Psychic type. Psychic weakness is something to note, but I think it can be efficient enough to see play regardless. For 1 colorless energy, you can do Beast Raid 20 times the number of Ultra Beasts in play. Does include itself, so probably going to be a 2-hit KO style attack with Psychic weakness, which is very relevant in the format right now. Pairing that with Buzzwole could be very cool because it is an Ultra Beast. And you can tech in other things like Kartana, which is now searchable via Ultra Space. And you can play Dormings Necrozma as well to decent effect. Jet Needle for a Psychic 2 colorless is probably a little bit too expensive for what we're looking for, and Stinger GX, very cool option to have in the deck. If you do fall behind on prizes, you can use this to set yourself and your opponent back to 3 at any point in the game, which is really insane. Again, a little bit expensive for what we're thinking, but could be pretty nice. In Expanded, it obviously gains Dimension Valley, so everything becomes a lot cheaper, and that just becomes dirty, to be honest, so do bear that in mind. Next up, we have some pretty cool Psychic support. The new Malamar is essentially the new version of Bronzong, this time for Psychic energies. This can be really synergistic with the old Necrozma GX. Could be nice for things like Wobbuffets, Mimikyus, Mewtwo GX, stuff like that. But most notably, the new Ultra Necrozma GX is probably the beat stick that we're going to look for. It's a Dragon type with 190 hit points. Weak to Fairy is a little bit awkward, but it does have this Photon Gazer attack. 20 plus 80 more for each Psychic energy you discard with the cost of 1 Psychic, 1 Metal. Very efficient, can get 1-hit KOs quite easily. Remember that Beast Energy can work for the cost here and gives you plus 30, as well as things like Choice Bands, which can make this very efficient at hitting 210, and even above and beyond that with more Malamars in play, so bear that in mind. You're just going to try and recycle those quite often to spam 1-hit KOs. It does have a GX attack as well, which places 6 counters on each of your opponent's Pokemon, but can only be used if there's 6 prize cards remaining between both you and your opponent, so more of a late game option, but can punish people, leaving things like Rockruffs or Zaruas lying around for you. The new item card, Mystery Treasure, very nice, lets you discard a card from hand if you do search your deck for a Psychic or Dragon Pokemon, so going to be great in the Malamar archetype. Could be cool as well for Garbodor builds, things like Espeon Garb. Could be nice as well for things like Garchomp archetype. Just extra search for this deck is going to make it quite consistent. Bear in mind, most notably, it can also grab you Lele as well for early Bridgets and stuff like that, so very, very strong card. Onto the fighting stuff, we have Zygarde GX, very tanky 200 HP Pokemon with the Cell Connector attack for a double colorless. Does 50, that can get buffed by Choice Band and Diancie Prism Star. We'll talk about that in a moment. Lets you search your deck, lets you get 2 fighting energy from the discard pile onto him as well. So Landsrath does 130 for 2 fighting, 2 colorless. A lot cheaper now that you can attach to yourself. That's the main aspect of the deck. Going all in on 4 Zygardes is pretty much the way to go. Landsrath can get 1-hit KOs again with the help of these damage buffs, and Verdict GX is the big thing here. For 2 fighting, 2 colorless, once again you do 150, but you prevent all damage from GX and EX Pokemon next turn. This can be reused with the supporter card Bonnie. If you have to discard a Stadium card, using Bonnie lets you recycle Zygarde's GX attack. So I think there will be a quad build of this, similar to something like a Quad Hooper, where you try and deny the opponent from attacking you and getting big 1-hit KOs as well, which is pretty cool. Next up to the Diancie Prism Star, really bonkers card, 120 hit point basic. As long as this Pokemon's on your bench, your fighting Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage. Will completely replace Regirock EX because it's just a single prize Pokemon and does 10 more damage, so just simply amazing card. There's a new Buzzwole as well. It has Sledgehammer for a fighting, which does 30, and if your opponent has exactly 4 prizes remaining, it does 90 more, so 120, that can deal with Zoroarks thanks to weakness. It's a nice 2-hit KO in general, just for being 1 energy, so very efficient attacker. Could be nice in like Rainbow Energy style decks, something like Gliscod Garbodor, for example, to help you out against Zoroark, which is traditionally quite a hard matchup, and it's just efficient in general for fighting decks because it's searchable via Brooklet Hill or even through Ultra Space as well, so very searchable, powerful card. It has a second attack as well, but a little expensive, even with Beast Ring support. There's the reprint of Garchomp as a fighting type now. We know what its attacks do, but now you have additional damage buffs. And there's a new unit energy, which can help you out if you're playing a blend of different energy types. Onto the water stuff, we have almost a reprint of Bats. We have Frogadier and Greninja GX, which now take over the places of Golbat and Crobat. There's a few additional attacks on this Greninja. Haste Slash does 110. You may shuffle this Pokemon in, so if it takes damage, you can basically remove that from the board, which is pretty cool, and it resets hopefully more snipes for later on. And its GX attack does a 130 snipe to the bench. Not quite very powerful. We've seen this on a few Pokemon previously, but with additional sniping from these abilities, it could be a little bit better. I think the thing holding it back is it's a grass-weak Pokemon, even though it is tanky in other situations. There's also a couple new Froakies. 70 HP one is definitely usable, and there's another one that has 50 hit points, but an ability that can give it free retreat if there's a Water Energy attached, which I don't think we'll see much play. Wake is a new supporter card. If you discard 2 Water Energy from your hand, you get to search your deck for any 2 cards. I think it's a little bit expensive, even with things like Starmie Synergy, because it's more of a late game centric card, and I think typical Greninja is more focused on the early game and what you can do there. It may have more synergy in something like an Aqua Box style archetype that can get you into Aqua Patches themselves after discarding the Waters, which is pretty cool. Speaking of discarding Waters, Jet Geyser from the Volcanion Prism Star is a pretty cool option. Discard a water, get to force your opponent to gust out their active, which is pretty cool. Make sure that an Aqua Box style deck can keep hitting 2 prize Pokemon. He also has 160 HP, which is really tanky, and weakness to grass, weakness to lightning, which is not grass, which is something that the Aqua Box deck has desperately been looking for. Sauna Blast for 3 water does 120 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, so it's like an OP version of Flying Flip. A little bit more expensive, but when you're playing Aqua Patches and Elixirs anyway, I think it's pretty achievable. Pretty decent card, may bring back Aqua Box in some form. From there, we have the Diantha supporter. Essentially, it combines Puzzle of Time with something like a teammate style effect, in that if one of your fairy Pokemon was knocked out, you get to search your deck for search your discard pile for any 2 cards and put them into your hand. This could be a really nice way to recycle if you're playing something like a Gardevoir deck, or even a Xerneas Break deck, where I think it might be even more effective for getting back important pieces to make sure you can get a 1-hit KO the following turn. There's a Xerneas GX, which I think has niche uses. I think as a main attacker, it's not quite strong enough, even with acceleration from things like Geomancy in general, and Elixirs and stuff like that. I don't think it quite gets there. Its GX attack is definitely notable and interesting, though. Move all damage counters from each of your Pokemon to your opponent's active, so it combines something like a Tapu Cure, in theory, alongside something like Ninetales' GX attack. So do bear that in mind. Pretty potent attack. I don't think it quite makes itself a tech in anything like Guardy, instead of playing things like Max Potions that we've seen in the past, or it may see play more likely in something like a Xerneas Break deck, if that is to come back in any force, because the deck currently is lacking a GX attack in general. Finally, for the fire stuff, there's a Lysandre Prism Star. Definitely a great option in Expanded, because it interacts with the opponent's discard pile, makes them not able to access these cards via Versus Seeker or via Puzzle of Time, or it can straight up remove damage from things like Night March. It can remove Executes as well, putting them straight into the Lost Zone for each fire Pokemon you have in play. Very disruptive option. I think it's a little bit slow for Standard, and there's not many fire archetypes that I think can take full use of this, but overall I think definitely a powerful card for Expanded. Keep this one. It's going to be one for the binder for sure. And finally, we have a new Pyroar. It has the same ability as Primal Groudon. Unfortunately, though, it is an ability, so it can be turned off by the likes of Garbodor, which is one big headache. Another reason it may not see as much play as we'd like is because there's gusting from Lycanroc GX, so it's not quite untouchable on the bench like a Primal Groudon is, alongside something like a Wobbuffet. So it can be accessed, but its main attack is pretty trash. It does 80 for a Fire 2 colorless and 60 more if Lysander's Lab's in play. No one cares about Lysander Labs. It's a pretty bad stadium that you don't want to play in the deck, but this guy does have a Break evolution, which can hit 180. You do 50 to yourself, but you don't really care about that. So going to 210 with a Choice Band, really, really potent, can be a 1-hit KO machine. And if the opponent can't access this guy, i.e. if they're not a Garbodor variant, you can actually do decent numbers with this guy. Get 1-hit KOs, the opponent can't really affect you. They can't get rid of things like EXP shares on your future Pyroars, so in theory you can spam these even if they are going down, because they're damaging themselves quite frequently to get 1-hit KOs. But I think overall it could be a fun archetype to play around. Not top tier, but definitely awkward, because this ability just says no to a lot of things in the format. So that is going to be it, guys. That's my rundown of the most influential and important cards from Forbidden Light. Let me know if I missed anything, and let me know what your favorite cards are from this set as well. Get it all down below. See you in another video. Cheers.